So at this juncture, I will take an opportunity just to introduce Reginald, our keynote speaker. Reginald, thank you so much for coming through. I don't know if you can hear me. I'll find out when I just finish running through. I just want to introduce Reginald. So Reginald is the immediate past president of the Zimbabwe Association of Pension Funds, the ZAPF, which is a very key stakeholder in terms of actuarial input. Reginald has garnered close to 30 years experience in the pensions industry, having started his career at Old Mutual. That was way back in 1991, where he worked until 2003, before joining Fidelity Life Assurance in that year. And at Fidelity Life, he served in various capacities, including assignments in Angola, Zambia, and South Sudan. So Gerald is a well-traveled man. He's seen it all in our continent, and I'm sure he's still keeping in touch with the developments in those markets. This is a man that we need to listen to as he speaks to us. At the moment, Gerald is the general manager in charge of employee benefits, retail, and funeral services at Fidelity Life. He holds various diplomas in insurance and marketing, a bachelor's in business administration, an MBA from the University of Gloucestershire, UK, and a postgraduate diploma in marketing from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, CIM, from the UK. Gerald's chief passions include conducting life coaching sessions for young men within and beyond the industry. So we can look forward to some coaching from Gerald. Please feel free to drop a few words for these excited and energetic professionals that are before you. They are so much eager to learn. They want you to help them to direct their focus and their passions to make it count in this world. Reginald, I want to thank you, and I want to give this opportunity for you to speak to our members. Thank you so much, Gerald.
Okay, thank you, Donald. Can I start by confirming if people can hear me?
I can hear you very well. Right, Jessica, just confirm for a second confirmation.
I can hear you, Reginald. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
All right. Thank you, Donald. And I noticed on at least 4 occasions, instead of referring to me as Reginald, you called me Gerald. What I find fascinating, what I've always found fascinating about that is you are not the only person to do that. That's a common mistake. But what is also further interesting is my young brother, the one who comes after me, is called Gerald. So I've never quite understood the similarities between Reginald and Gerald, but thanks nevertheless.
That's an equation for me to solve.
So let me start by doing the needful. That is recognizing the important dignitaries that I understand to be present or to be soon present, starting with the Commissioner of IPEC, Dr. Muradzikwa and her team, the ASZ President yourself, Mr. Donald Hove, the Life Officers Association Chairman, Mr. Chikariro, and ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I certainly feel honored and privileged to be among us today. And in my considered view, the fact that we can meet virtually like this, deliberate and share ideas, notwithstanding the colossal challenges that currently confront us, both on a global scale and some challenges more localized and peculiar to our beloved Zimbabwe, this still all but lends credence to the resilience of our human spirit. And that is, life goes on, and go on it must. So the theme for the convention reads, maintaining an edge in an era of socio-economic upheaval. And my understanding is today we are particularly focusing on maintaining an edge through professionalism. A long time ago, one of my mentors impressed upon me that when tackling a topic, and that's virtually on any subject, always start by identifying the keywords, define them, dissect the general construct of the topic, then and only then can you claim to have a modicum of understanding it and earn the right to attempt to unpack it in front of an audience, especially an esteemed gathering such as this one. That is a wise approach I've embraced and must confess it has served me well. Even though I learned swiftly enough, it does not always work well when in discourse with my spouse, but I digress. So, maintaining an edge in an era of socio-economic upheaval, or in doing so through professionalism. From the outset, allow me to declare that my agreeing to participate in this event was solely and fundamentally premised on the following. The invitation came by virtue of myself being a player in an industry which we are all participants and or stakeholders. And in that industry, for me, the most important stakeholder is the pensioner. This is also colored by my enduring passion for pre-retirement counseling and servicing pensioners in general. So for the avoidance of doubt, my preparation of this keynote address was done through the lens of the pensioner. My hope and theory is by understanding the plight of the pensioner and appreciating the reasons that have landed them where they currently find themselves in, at least most of them, lessons can be drawn, strategies crafted and implemented so that a better fate awaits the current crop of contributing members. Now let us unpack the theme, maintaining an edge in an era of socio-economic upheaval and doing so through professionalism. Maintaining. Dictionary definition says it is to continue or to keep up. So right there is already a loaded presumptive conclusion that we are good. Sure, a bit of turbulence, but by and large, we have and still are on point in serving the pensioner and the industry at large. So all we need to do is to just find ways of maintaining. I won't challenge that assumption. And I won't challenge it because many years ago, when I first entered the industry, part of my induction was done by a cocky actuarial student proudly wearing a t-shirt written, "I am an actuary. To save time, let's just assume that I'm never wrong." And so I will save time. So what is to be maintained? An edge. And what is the definition of an edge? Well, in this context, it is an advantage or an upper end. So a quick recap by way of phrasing. We want to continue or keep up an existing advantage or upper end that the Zimbabwean pensioner is currently enjoying. If there's a whiff of sarcasm, reminder, I said I'm not challenging an assumption. So moving on. Definition of socio-economic. Well, in my view, that is rather self-explanatory. It means relating to socio-economic factors. Then upheaval. Upheaval is said to refer to a violent, sudden change or disruption to something. So again, the social and economic changes and or disruptions that have been violent and sudden, but we have said the pensioner still retains an edge, which we want to maintain through professionalism. And what is professionalism? My research revealed that professionalism is the skill and competence expected of a professional. And I think Donald alluded to this earlier to say there certainly is no lack of depth in terms of skill and competence in your industry. So in other words, the theme can be rephrased as follows. We continue using our considerable skills and competencies to ensure the existing advantages ostensibly being enjoyed by the industry, so that there is persistence while understanding the violent and often sudden changes we are or we have been experiencing. At this point, let me pose a few questions, or rather muse about what exactly has been maintained And by maintained, we want to make a comparison to the yesteryear years of true Muchikandikere, when in my view, pensions really still meant something and people could really live off their pensions. Now, these questions that I want to pose or muse over are particularly in light of the fact that the majority of pension funds converted to defined contribution schemes, whereas we all know it is the members who now carry the investment risk. And for a significant number of pensioners, their annuities were set up as level pensions, and some have remained so, notwithstanding the ravages of hyperinflation. The next point will be the sponsoring employers are unwilling or unable to fund any meaningful ad hoc increases or pension augmentations. And to also maybe then put a bit of color to this, if you go back in history, you'll find that, for example, in 1992, $6.20 of Zimbabwean dollar then could purchase $1 US. And at the end of 2008, you needed 654 quintillion Zimbabwean dollars. That is what was needed to purchase a single US dollar. And that's ignoring the removal of zeros. The next point is the current minimum monthly pension translates to around 5 United States dollars. My next point will be, I'm sure we can contextualize this by roping in so many other statistics. So the beauty of being with actuaries is you go light on the statistics, because in any event, they're always more likely to have more of them than I can ever take up. So the statistics are as follows. What is the percentage of retirees who have the capital values which are even adequate to purchase this poverty minimum pension? And how many are therefore being waived off with full commutations after years of pensionable service? Another question is, where is the poverty datum line currently at? Another question is, are there any meaningful increases being recommended and awarded? So the question that might be re-asked, why my continued obsession with pensioners? And my straight first answer to that is, while the mistakes and deficiencies of teachers and the education sector are in the form of failed students who are roaming the streets, though I'm sure they'll push back and say it's graduates, not failed students, who are roaming the streets. But I think that is a discussion for another forum. But the next point will be the mistakes and deficiencies of doctors, surgeons, and the health delivery system in general are resting with various degrees of peace in numerous cemeteries. And we also know that the mistakes and deficiencies of condom manufacturers are nestled in maternity wards. But for us, ladies and gentlemen, the deficiencies of our industry, of which actuaries are an integral part, manifesting the proliferation of impoverished pensioners. If we can accept that and interrogate the underlying reasons, and these underlying reasons might include the following. The products that are still available and being offered, are they still relevant? And the investment vehicles where assets are being placed, are they delivering real returns? We can also look at the prevailing laws and regulations. Are they appropriate for the prevailing conditions? And last but most importantly, it is the behavior of us, the players, and here read professionalism, ethics, fairness, administration charges which are being charged, the free spending of policyholder funds on funding conferences, etc. So only when we can accept our role and the capability can we begin to fix things for the future. All the while knowing some factors and variables are well beyond our control. But what is in our control, and what do we need to professionally do? Now, so far at a first glance, or is it a first hearing, it will seem to some of you that have been at pains to highlight the challenges bedeviling the industry, which are already known to us anyway. And it would appear I've so far done little to proffer any possible solutions. And to that observation, let me reassure you, you are correct. That is what I have done so far. But more importantly, that is all that I'm going to do. The reason being that at school, while those of us less academically gifted were pursuing humanities and the arts, brain boxes were seized with actuarial studies, and they are here present. So where am I to attempt to do what brighter and better minds can and should do? So I will end by stating that, to my mind, what is so patently needed is engagement of all stakeholders, especially the pensioners. Because if you were to ask me, and I was to be kind and diplomatic, I would say by and large, as an industry, as far as the pensioners are concerned, we have mostly done the following. Number one, like sanitize the extent of how we contributed to their current situation. Number two, when they do try to speak up, we ask them to wear masks. Number three, when they try to speak through those masks, we socially distance ourselves from their plight. And number four, while the lives and careers of pension administrators, asset managers, brokers, actuaries, auditors are going on, the pensioners have been quarantined. Number five, ladies and gentlemen, their poverty temperatures are exceedingly high, and they are fueled by underlying conditions of inflation, effects of the COVID pandemic, breakdown of other support structures in the form of support from possible support that could come from children who are currently unemployed, and also the drying up of remittances from the diaspora, as the children who exported are also facing challenges in their adopted countries and trying to earn a living there. But while all this is happening, one can be forgiven to say it seems we've chosen to self-isolate ourselves to a large degree. So, ladies and gentlemen, in my view, I have addressed, and hopefully there were keynotes in that address to what I looked at and tried to understand by the theme of the convention. At this stage, I will hand back to the master in ceremony for any comments or questions that might need me to address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reginald Chihota, for the presentation. I think at this point, before I open the forum for questions, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Grace Muradzikwa, the IPEC CEO, and also the immediate past president of ASZ, Laureen Makwanya. We welcome you to this. Oh, the IPEC commissioner, sorry about that. So at this time, we would like to open the forum for questions. If there are any questions, the guest of honor, feel free to post them on the question and answer forum, or you can raise your hand, then we'll give you the privilege to speak. I just hope attendees are still here. All right, whilst we are waiting for questions, if there are any, at this point, I would like us to do some icebreaker. I just want to see that we are all still here. It could be that I'm the only one in this forum. So I'm going to launch a poll, an icebreaker, which I need all of you to respond to. So I'll be launching it now. If you are here with us, please respond to it. It's interesting. It appears people are here. We've got 50 out of 66 people responding. Still waiting. I'll give it up to a minute. All right. I'll end the poll now. We have got 57 of the people voting. And it's interesting what the responses are. We'll say those later. So now we'll move on to questions. Since we now have questions that have been posted on the forum. The first question that I would take for you, Mr. Reginald, is from Madam Grace Muradzikwa. All right, that's not a question, it's just a complimentary. She says that, thank you, Mr. Reginald, for articulating so well the issues currently seizing us as the Commission. So thank you so much, Mr. Reginald. It appears that your presentation was right placed in the current situation that we're facing in Zimbabwe. Then we have a question from Prosper. The classical issue that I think the profession needs to answer is, does the customer or pension expect that when they save through a pension fund or insurance policy, do they transfer sovereign risk? Mr. Reginald, I'll ask you to take up this question.
All right, thank you. We started very well. It never does any harm when your regulator compliments you, then immediately you are side-blinded by a very difficult question. So the issue of sovereign risk, in my mind, it's to say, even within the confines of that sovereign risk, are we doing enough to manage it or to insulate the saver against the ravages of those sovereign risk, especially bearing in mind that I think it's conventional wisdom that in risk, whatever manner of risk, therein also lies opportunities. And I think when we're talking of sovereign risk, we are talking about maybe the country risk of Zimbabwe, which are all known to us. But I think if we were to have an honest dialogue or introspection or examination of what's on the ground, there are still opportunities in terms of how even the pension or the contributing members' dollar can actually earn an above inflation return. It's conversations I think we have been, as an association and as an industry, we have been having even with the regulator to say, is it not possible to be actually funding some projects which can give value to pensioners, or we just take the easy route when you talk of sovereign risk to say hyperinflation and currency reforms and so forth and so forth. So I don't know whether I've answered that question, or people want us to lean towards what has also been trending to say, should we be placing some of the money offshore as a way of diluting the country risk? That's my submission, Madam Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Reginald. If there are any follow-up questions, we'll let you know. But probably in the interest of time, we'll move on to the next question from Justin Chinakizwa. He says that, I would like to thank the keynote speaker for his remarks. Maybe I missed it, but what are some of the practical steps we can take to ensure our clients maintain some edge in the midst of all that is happening? I will repeat the question. What are some of the practical steps we can take to ensure our clients maintain some edge in the midst of all that is happening?
Okay, thank you, Justin. So for me, I would say there are three practical things that we can do. The first one being, I think no matter which angle or corner we approach the subjects, it always ends up with the quantum of a pension payout, and closely and intimately tied to that is the return that the funds earn over time. So it's to address the question of returns. How can the funds that have already been contributed or that are being contributed, how can they be sweated to make sure that we get adequate returns? And when we get those returns, to make sure they are equitably apportioned to people who have been contributing. And again, we, as an industry, we assist with the guidelines we've received from the regulator to make sure that that this happens. And in addition to that also is to say, among the industry players to practice fairness in terms of what should we be charging for the services that we provide, or it's a question of out of $100 contributed, we are taking $90 for our services. And lastly, I think it's an issue of adequate and constant communication with all the stakeholders to keep them up to speed in terms of what is happening. So in my view, Justin, those are some of the practical steps that we can actually take to benefit the contributing members.
All right, thank you, Mr. Reginald, for that response. I have quite a number of questions here. I'll cherry pick the ones that I think I may want you to address. Okay, the next question is from Laureen Makwanya, our immediate past president. Interesting discussion. At the ASZ yesterday, I spoke on the global trends around the great risk transfer and the role of the government as the insurer of last resort. We need to start having these conversations in Zim. So essentially, this is a comment. She's agreeing with your discussion and the presentation that you did. And I believe she's just emphasizing that those discussions should continue happening at this fora and in other forums in Zimbabwe for us to go on as a nation. Then Maputire Tapiwa says, Mr. Chihota, if I'm not mistaken, you've rephrased the theme. Unfortunately, I did not get you. Can you come again, please? Would you be able to just rephrase how you restructured or rephrased the theme for today?
Okay, you will need to give me a second to work through that. I'll get to that, Madam.
Maybe in the meantime, I will give the IPEC Commissioner, Madam Grace Muradzikwa, to just speak to us and also her comments to this presentation. Madam Grace, you can switch on your video if you want so that we can see you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Director of Ceremonies, for giving me this opportunity. I think which I'll just take to greet all of you, and also just to commend, I think, the Actuarial Society of Zimbabwe, I think, for the great work that you are doing. From where we sit as IPEC, we really see the Actuarial Society of Zimbabwe as an important stakeholder in the industry and in all the work that we are doing. I want to thank you, Mr. President Donald Hove, I think, for your very encouraging words. Specifically, maybe I can pick on just one of the issues that you raised, that you are looking forward to seeing actuaries as key partners in business, in all aspects of business. Certainly, I think we also look forward to that, and we hope that I think your training is actuaries also span the 4 facets of business leadership, so that the focus is not really just on training the technicians, you know, that we are also seeing out there. We do look forward, you know, to collaborating with actuaries, you know, who have got the full breadth of business leadership skills. And like I said already, I think in my comments, I really wanted to compliment also Mr. Chihota. I think he picked on all the key issues that are currently seizing us, you know, as a commission, and maybe just for members to be aware that at the moment we are actually full scope off-site audits around the areas of expenses, you know, where we are seeing some really exorbitant expense ratios and warranted expense ratios. And so we do look forward, I think, to your collaboration around that area, perhaps even looking at benchmarking expense ratios. We are indeed also looking at the areas of product relevance. We've seen a lot of products in the market which are not speaking to the current realities. And I think this is an area where we think, I think, as actuaries, you really can contribute, I think, to the debate, and also in terms of the advice that you are also giving to your clients. And maybe finally, there are also a number of areas, that we are currently looking at, apart from, just reasonable pension benefits. I'm not going to preempt Patrick's presentation. He is going to present, on the guidance paper on currency revaluations. And I know that members are keenly waiting, I think, to hear the developments around that paper. So I don't want to preempt that. But really, thank you. As I said, we do see the Actuarial Society as a key partner in the industry, and we look forward to further collaborations. I also finally want to take this opportunity to wish you a very successful convention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Muradzikwa. We do appreciate your words of wisdom. And we do appreciate that you also acknowledge and appreciate the efforts that the actuaries are doing in Zimbabwe. I know in the past, it appears as if we were not doing anything, but now the efforts are being seen. We are hopeful that in the future, our efforts are going to be fruitful and be a solution to the problems that we are facing in Zimbabwe, especially in the insurance industry. Mr. Reginald, I'll come back to you maybe in less than a minute, if you can just paraphrase your theme so that we can move on to the next point on our agenda.
Okay, thank you. So what I had done, I had started from the theme as it is given, and after then coming up with the definitions of the various keywords, I had proposed to say it can be redefined as follows. We continue using our considerable skills and competencies to ensure the existing advantages persist, notwithstanding the violent and often sudden changes we are experiencing.
Interesting. Thank you for that. So at this point, let me announce the results of our poll, which was very interesting. The question was, hand on heart, are you wearing pajamas right now? It's very interesting. 54% of the people said never, which is very interesting. I actually thought maybe 90% would say, yes, we're wearing pajamas. But it's interesting. We'll see when we ask everyone to put on their videos at the end of the session. And 19% said yes. So thank you so much for answering the poll. We just wanted to see that you are here with us and you were attentive to the presentations.